My name is Kellie Cottam and I represent Forced Adoption Exposed and Halt the Adoption Drive, because currently our system, our family justice system, is in absolute dire chaos. Now this is going everywhere from total incompetence all the way to corruption, but even if incompetence occurs, if they admit accountability, they're liable, therefore they're suable, so that still becomes corruption. But currently in the UK and pretty much in the Commonwealth, we have people who are performing satanic rituals, and we say ritual with such blatancy. It's downright murder of children, sexual, physical, emotional abuse of children, but this is all stems from a paedophilia network. Now, I actually have a high number of the inner circle children from Historic who contact me, and people who've been abused in paedophilia rings, and also that infiltrates. So the PI information exchange infiltrates. It infiltrates into the education system. We're talking about people. So we're talking about individuals who have a preference to children and are performing sexual acts onto children. But they are in social services, they are adopters. Now I'm not saying there is some great adopters, great foster parents and great social workers out there, that they are, but they're only as good as the system they work for, and this system is failing. In fact, the family judiciary reform in 2012 stated it has already failed. Now if you go into a cafe and they are failing with their health and safety, it would be closed down. You wouldn't be allowed to continue your service until you come back up to par. But this is a constant rotation, constant. Every day the child is taken. Now if you have a look at how many courts there are in this country, there's nearly 200 children a day being separated by one or both parents, be this be parent alienation, denied contact, or forced adoption. Now I myself am forced adoption exposed. Two of my children, Aaron and Faith, were taken for forced adoption, and on Monday they had the adoption ceremony for my children, where they'll be given new names, sit on the judge's lap and told about their new forever family, their new mummy and daddy. Well, they have a mummy. Now when my daughter was born, she was born in 2010, and I had gone to social services in Lancashire to put together a care plan, because when I'd given birth to my son, I hemorrhaged. I have a condition called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's taken 22 years for me to be diagnosed because of the failure of social services in Surrey, because I too reported sexual abuse, where I was called a liar and attention seeker, and have evidence of a social worker saying Kellie is attractive in a street corner kind of way, do not believe her lies, sending me out onto the streets. And what we basically understand is this system is all set up to label people. So now, it was common sense as a mum. When you're a single mum of 4 children, now I was cool with the 2 older children, they had their dad around, but with the 2 younger children I was in domestic violence. But I left when Aaron was 5 months old and I found I was pregnant with Faith. And because of my hemorrhage, I accessed the support system. I accessed them. I had an indicative budget for an emergency plan because I slipped the discs. Ehlers-Danlos syndrome basically means that we don't reproduce collagen, we slip our discs, and there are many other factors around this. Now, what's really difficult is when you're dealing with social services and the courts, you're only dealing with paperwork. Now, I moved to Flintshire, where I transferred my file over, and all they had was paperwork. Paperwork I never saw. My medical notes, any of the domestic violence reports, my own foster care file, which I've never seen. Then from that, they conclude a psychological report where you're then labelled. I've been labelled, I'm Asperger's, labelled with borderline personality because of my failed foster care service, and attachment disorder. Now they are using attachment disorders of the root of all removals of children, predominantly going back to ex-foster care children to say they have an attachment disorder, therefore then the next child is going to have a detachment disorder, and we've got to break the cycle, because what do you think is going to happen to these children now, to the Hampstead children? Today, all they were on about was court bundles, who's not seeing what, what's not available, total incompetence from barristers having to turn to their solicitors to ask dates and questions, and all this stuff is never right in the courtroom. My daughter always had a different date of birth, our names were always different, facts were always different, information was completely different. Now when you say so, of which I would be held in contempt of court for doing so, then it comes to perjury in my mind. Now there's 3 new words that I've learned recently, and that's malfeasance in public office, misfeasance in public office, and non-misfeasance in public office. Now while these guys in there are basically adjourning, faffing around with their paperwork, arguing on who's incompetent, who's responsible, there's 2 children. Now the Hampstead case is really tricky because at the end of the day people don't want to open their eyes that there is satanic rituals going on. I wear a cross, that means I believe in God. Now polarity exists, people believe in the devil. So with every sort of faith or religion there are rituals. Even personal development specialists have rituals. Any person who wants to set a goal, footballers, they have pre-performance rituals. Now here, the rituals is all to do with innocence. Now in other countries, they believe that if you have sexual contact with an innocent, which is basically a child, you will live forever, you can be free from AIDS. But from here, it's the same sacrifice of the lamb, but it is a human child, an innocent human child. So this brings you back to the failure within our own social services system, because these people do not want children who have been abused. So social services are not saving the children who've been abused, but taking children who, 1, are adoptable, and 2, who can then be abused. So basically they're taking them from parents who have physical conditions, mental health factors, have just asked for help. Now if you go to Super Nanny and you ask for help, you get it. You even go on Jerry McKyle, you get help. But when you go to social services, you face having your children removed. False information provided, fabricated information, lack of confusion, lack of the fact that each person is not actually qualified or experienced to do each person's part. The amount of people in there all working on one case, and then you've got a mother or a father, family, who don't know the court proceedings, don't know the filing systems, basically are an emotional roller coaster because somebody's just taken their children, and children are being cuffed. The only people who can remove children is the police, but they're being cuffed. 20 police officers at Watford Hospital to take a newborn baby. Newborn babies are being taken from the breast. Now, my mission now is to halt the adoption drive. I basically want to call Parliament on the 11th of September to halt the adoption drive, call a public inquiry into social services, CAF and the family courts, and even the whole proceedings, because in the Supreme Court, Lady Justice Hale stated it was time to call a halt to the current proceedings. If she's saying that they're not working, then we're going back to the good old kitchen that's failing health and safety. These are people's lives. Under Article 8 of the Human Rights Act, we have a right to family life. Yet there are systems and procedures in this to break down families, all coming out older, an old manifesto called Agenda 21, and it's divide and conquer. It's also about sexualizing the children. I ask you, check your music industry. What do you think they're doing to children? Provoking sex. Have some research, and I'm not going to talk much about it because you'll probably think I'm crazy, but research the goddess of Iris, who was the wife of Horus. She is the fertility god. Her spirit still exists. There is a veil between us and the spiritual world. The demonics cannot come through, but spiritual can. Now, we're human. We are born as children, and what we grow up is about the environment around us. But one of the most strongest things is the maternal bond. Now, these people are coming into our lives and taking our children. If we were in Africa, slash your throat. Yet parents have got to stand in the courts, listen to what's going on, follow a procedure of laws that can take years. These cases, if you take them to the European courts, which is probably my position now, another 5 years is taken off of my children. Now, when children get to about the age of 11, because one thing you'll always hear from judges is they're happy, healthy and thriving. If you say, how are my children? They'll go, happy, healthy and thriving. Everything is a cut and paste. Everything is plagiarized, and everything is basically just individuals taking sections. It's like the psychological report. The judge is not qualified to read it, neither is a social worker, and all they do is cut and paste and then go on to Wikipedia and cut and paste from there as well. Everything again is completely plagiarized. So this case today has been adjourned because they're faffing around with paperwork. But this piece of paper, the piece of paper that is the adoption order of my children, does not take away my blood and DNA and my maternal drive for my children. I am my children's protector. My birth certificate of my children makes me responsible for them, gives me parental rights. That's been taken from me and taken from thousands of families around the UK. This is not just a UK problem. This is in the EU, United Nations and Commonwealth. This is going on all around the world, yet the UK is the only one with the law for forced adoption. Children are abused. We do need a system that protects children, but ultimately they've got to work together for the family. If children are in there under children's social services, then adults should have adult social services. There's a whole better way of running this system. New Zealand has a perfect structure. It's all about keeping the family together, working with families. Here, it's about breaking them down. And while these court cases are going on, there's children screaming to be heard. There's children without a voice. So while they put their wigs on and they play their game, it's their job. But this is our lives. And we're an underground world where parents are gagged. I have draconian gagging orders on me, but they made mine public because they know they can't pursue me. It's not in the public funding interest. So to the general public, you are the people paying for what is going on. This is public funded money. It is the taxpayers' money that is ultimately kidnapping a child. If you receive stolen goods, you would be just as bad as the person who stole them. And they're stealing our children. And not only stealing them, they're taking them in paedophilia rings and satanic rituals. And whatever you think of the Hampstead case, there's still children involved, whether you support the mother or the father. But ultimately, we all should be supporting the children to have a voice. So we're down at the Royal Courts of Justice. Please check out Forced Adoption Exposed. If you've had children taken, I'm not legal. All I want to do is expose this and bring as many people around who can help. We're down at Downing Street till Sunday. We've got a study group going on down there. We're talking to the public. We're pissing a few people off. We're making sure that the governments and the police know who we are and what we're about. And they're having to come and log about us each day. Come down, come and speak to us, and understand these cases, because ultimately these are the people who run our country, the royals, Parliament. These are the people who dictate the laws, and their agenda is not in the best interest of the child, as Hitler coined. It's about how to destroy the family. So we the people, we the public, you the taxpayers, have a duty and an obligation to raise the standards of the family courts. So please check out many people. I'll post stuff out on a daily basis. See what's really going on. And if you want to turn a blind eye, you're just as bad as those committing these crimes. And it is a crime. So we must make a stand. We must collaborate, because it's our children. We don't know where they are. I did a video with David Jenkins of Scott, and he said, Kellie, I don't know where my children are. I don't even know if they are alive. Are they the children being abused? Because when I was told that the adoption order was granted, at the same time I received legal notification from somebody, and I said, what is your agenda with helping me? He said, Kellie, I was a forced adoption and I was sexually abused by my adoptive parents. And my sister was separated from me and taken and passed around social workers and used in a paedophilia network. Him and his sister were the same age as my children, Aaron and Faith, who are now 6 and 5. And I'm gagged to tell you what's going on with my children. It's my children. So I'm going to be down at Downing Street speaking out. Have a Google, you'll see I had worldwide media in 2010, and my family is Benefit Britain. And we are going to benefit Britain because we are going to step forward and we're going to bring this Halt the Adoption drive in. We're asking just to suspend it, to inspect these courts, to inspect all of the current proceedings that are going on and return our children. That's all we're asking for. And it is getting to a point where there's so many angry parents. I dread to think the next police officer or social worker that walks into the wrong parent's door, because parents are going to start fighting back. And we are standing up to you, and we're coming for our children. And we will not allow for children like the Hampstead children to have to suffer like that. And if it means having to push against the system, then that's what we got to do. But we can only do it when we stand together, because together we are stronger. Together we have one voice for all of the children. And they just want to go out and play, not be played with. So this is Kellie Cottam, Forced Adoption Exposed, and we're down at Downing Street with stolen children of the UK.